Culture, Vulture, written and illustrated by Kaila Thompson, for ages 8 and up. Dedicated to Dr. Rena Williams and Cohort Elementary 1, 2020-2021. A word from the author, that's me. Growing up, there were so many instances where I felt like my culture, along with other minorities' cultures, was not being celebrated and respected in a way that it should be. Then, and even more so today, I see white celebrities using sacred artifacts, clothing, and hairstyles from different cultures to promote themselves while neglecting to acknowledge the cultures these things originated from. For instance, Black and African hairstyles or protective styles are often seen as ghetto and unprofessional. However, when white celebrities and influencers wear their hair in box braids, bantu knots, and cornrows, the same styles minorities are ridiculed for, it's trendy and fashionable. This problem is often seen in music videos and during Halloween as well. But cultures aren't costumes, so they shouldn't be treated as such. And yes, I know not only white people are guilty of cultural appropriation. Anyone is capable of doing so, which is why this book is written for everyone. I wrote this book to spread awareness and to teach young children and maybe even some adults the do's and don'ts. It's important that children learn how to celebrate culture in a way that is appreciative and not appropriative. Katie Starr's story will do just that. I've always known the importance of being respectful of different cultures, ethnicities, races, and any other form of identity, and so I'm not afraid to correct someone if I feel like what they're doing is offensive, unappreciative, or rude. Hopefully, after reading this story, you will be able to do the same confidently. If my book teaches you anything, pass it on. Best, Kaila Thompson. Katie Starr, Tale of a Culture Vulture. Be sure to check out the glossary at the end of the book. Katie was a typical 16-year-old girl by day and a rising pop star by night. Her friends and family knew her as Katie Johnson, but to the world, she was Katie Starr. Katie lived with her mom, Dawn Johnson, in a huge mansion in Hollywood, California. Their house was right next door to Irv's, who was Katie's manager. Irv's number one goal was to make Katie the most famous pop star in the world. One day during a team meeting, Irv proposed an idea to Katie and her mother. He thought that if Katie changed her image, she could become more popular and gain more fans. More fans equals more money, Irv said to Katie. Dawn got defensive. Well, what kind of image did you have in mind, Irv? She questioned. I think Katie's girl next door image is good enough. I was thinking culture vulture, Irv said as he sashayed across the room. Just imagine, a different style every time you step out in the public. Culture vulture, Katie said with confusion. That sounds like it'll attract negative publicity. All publicity is good publicity, darling, Irv insisted. Besides, all of the industry's most popular artists take a little bit of culture from here and they're at the top, where you will be soon. So follow my lead, and soon everyone around the world will know the name Katie Starr. Katie seemed hesitant. However, she decided to go along with Irv's idea. Let's do it, she replied. What could go wrong? Katie thought to herself. The next day was Katie's video shoot for her new hit single, That Girl Next Door. Katie and Dawn arrived at the shoot. With them were Katie's 4 best friends, Jacob, Nico, Jasmine, and Abhishek, who she insisted come along. As they walked in, Irv greeted them. Katie, Dawn, and friends, perfect! You're all here, Irv shouted, just in time for Katie's fitting. He was very excited. Just a heads up before we begin, he exclaimed. I've changed the entire set, wardrobe, and makeup for the music video. This will be a fantastic way to debut your new image. Shocked and confused, Dawn asked Irv, You changed the entire video? We were set on the original concept for months. Can't we debut Katie's new image at the next red carpet event? No, we'll do it today, in the video. It will be perfect, it will be wonderful, he said quickly. Today's going to be great, so let's move it, people. We only have this space until midnight. Irv clapped twice and everyone started to move. Katie and her group of friends were escorted to the dressing room. As Katie tried on her first look for the shoot, the 4 others sat in the waiting area, which was on the other side of the changing curtain. Once changed, Katie peeked out of the curtain to show her friends the first outfit. She was dressed in a deerskin dress, animal fur jacket, and fringed boots. On her head sat a huge traditional Native American feather headdress. What do you think, guys? Cool, huh? Katie asked as she struggled to balance the headdress. Her friends scrunched up their faces. Jacob looked especially upset. "What's wrong, Jacob? You don't like it?" Katie asked. "You're dressed like my Shiwaye. I mean, my grandma," Jacob said with disgust in his voice. "She's full-blood Apache. I don't really think this outfit is appropriately fitted for you, Katie." He, indeed, was upset. Katie crossed her arms. "Well, Irv says this is what will attract the fans. I think it looks cool," she said. "Whatever you say, Katie," Jacob said as he shrugged his shoulders and stood up. "I'm gonna go get a soda." And he left the room. The others weren't sure what to say, so they insisted Katie try on her second outfit. Katie went behind the curtain to change, and when she came back out, her face was painted completely white. She was dressed in a kimono and had an obi wrapped around her waist. Her hair was pinned up in kanzashi flowers, and she had tabby socks and okubo shoes on her feet. Katie stood there as she held a wagasa over her head. "Kidding, right?" Nico said. "What's wrong with this one?" Katie asked Nico. "Back in Japan, my home country, the geisha dress just like that. They're professional entertainers who take pride in their performance art and clothing," Nico explained. "This traditional style, Japanese style, is not something that should be worn as a costume. I don't like it." Katie looked in the mirror. "It's beautiful, and I think it fits me well." She clearly wasn't getting the point behind Nico's words. "Besides, Irv picked this out for me, and he knows what's best for my career." The others looked at Katie, then at Nico. "Whatever you say, Katie. I'm going to go find Jacob," Nico said. Then she stood up and left the dressing room. The remaining friends now felt awkward, but told Katie to continue her fitting. Behind the curtain, Katie went again. When she came back out in her next outfit, Abhishek immediately looked at Jasmine, who was furious. Abhishek could see why. Katie now had her hair cornrowed into box braids with pink braiding hair. At the ends of the braids were multicolored beads. Her front hairs were laid down in swirl designs, and on her hands were long press-on nails. Giant gold hoop earrings dangled from her earlobes. "Who are you supposed to be now, Katie?" Jasmine asked sarcastically, already knowing the answer. "What, I can't wear braids and nails now?" Katie asked. "What's the problem?" "Well, for one, you're wearing a protective hairstyle for hair that doesn't need protecting," Jasmine stated. "And two, your look fits the description of a stereotype of black women. Can't you see that?" she asked. Katie began. Before she could finish, Jasmine interrupted her. "It's offensive to me and to my black culture." Jasmine sighed, then continued. "Tell Irv you're not wearing this, or I'm leaving." Katie thought for a moment, then spoke. "Well, I guess you're leaving then, Jasmine," she replied. "This is my job, and this is what my manager wants, so I'm going to wear this for my video." "Wow," Jasmine said sadly. "I'm really disappointed in you, Katie." She then left the room. "I guess it's just you and me, Abhishek," Katie said awkwardly as she scratched her head. She then went behind the curtain to change into her last outfit. As she was changing, Nico and Jacob returned to the dressing room with soda and a cheese platter. We just passed Jasmine. Why did she leave?" asked Jacob. "I think you know why," said Abhishek as Katie shuffled the curtain open to reveal her final look. When Katie stepped out, she was wrapped in a red and gold sari made from the finest French chiffon fabric. Her arms were beautifully tied with henna, and she had a bindi on her forehead, right above her eyebrows. "I love it," Katie said to her friends. "I hate it," Abhishek yelled. His outburst startled Jacob and Nico. Katie, too. "Hate it? Why?" Katie asked. "Isn't this just like what your sister wore to her wedding last year?" "Yes, exactly," Abhishek exclaimed. "My sister, who is Hindu, wore it to her Hindu wedding. It's a tradition in our Hindu religion. It's not meant for some dumb American pop music video." Nico joined in. "I agree. All of these outfits are pretty offensive, Katie," she stated. "Yeah, you're appropriating our cultures, and that's not cool," added Jacob. "Culture vulture!" Abhishek yelled. He was very angry. Katie looked at her friends and began to break down into tears. "I'm sorry," she cried. "You're right. You're all right. I can't wear these outfits. They aren't meant for me to wear. You all tried to tell me and I wasn't listening. How could I have been so willfully ignorant?" Abhishek, Jacob, and Nico sat there quietly as Katie had an epiphany. Irv told me this was best and I believed him. I guess I was distracted by fame and fortune and it made me blind to how inappropriate and hurtful this new image is, she continued. The last thing I wanted to do was hurt anyone, especially you guys. You're my best friends. Abhishek, Nico, and Jacob stood up and walked towards Katie. We get it, Katie. Being young and famous is a lot of pressure, and we know you didn't mean any harm, Nico said sincerely as she patted Katie on the back. She then changed her tone of voice, and jokingly said, but don't let fame and fortune, or Irv, turn you into a friendless, obtuse, cultural appropriating monster. They all laughed. Give us a hug, Jacob insisted to Katie. Katie stood up and they all joined in a group hug. I learned a valuable lesson today, and it saved me from going out there and looking like a fool in front of the entire world, Katie said to the three. You guys are the greatest friends ever. Then she gasped. Oh no, Jasmine, Katie realized. I've got to stop her before she leaves. Katie quickly took off the sari, and then the four friends rushed out of the dressing room. Hoping to catch Jasmine, they ran through the building looking for the exit that led to the parking lot. Irv saw them all running towards the door and stopped them. Where do you all think you're going? We start shooting in 5 minutes, Irv said to the teens. Katie took a step forward towards Irv. We're not doing the video, Irv. Not like this. The music video for That Girl Next Door will be shot with the original concept, or it won't be shot at all, Katie said with pride. Appalled, Irv asked, Why? What's the matter, Katie? Those outfits you picked out for me come from different cultures that I'm not a part of. It would be unfair for me to use them as costumes for my benefit, she explained to her manager. Dawn, Katie's mother, stood proudly in the distance as she listened to her daughter speak. I don't want to be a culture vulture, Katie said as she air quoted with her fingers. If that's the only way I can become a pop sensation, then I don't want it. Now, excuse me, she insisted. I have to find Jasmine before my misjudgment ruins our friendship forever. Irv's eyes seemed to light up in red in anger, and you could almost see steam coming out of his ears. The group of friends began running towards the exit again as Irv turned around. You're making a big mistake, Katie Starr. Without me, you're just Katie Johnson, a nobody, Irv yelled out to Katie as the exit door closed. Dawn walked up from behind Irv. Irv, you're fired, she said. From now on, I will manage Katie, and she will make her own decisions. It's clear who knows what's best for my daughter and who doesn't. Now get off our set. Right away, 2 security guards came in and picked up Irv by his arms to remove him from the set. You'll see, you'll all see, Irv shouted as he was carried away through the back exit. Katie and her friends made it out to the front parking lot where they saw Jasmine stepping into her mom's car. Jasmine, wait! Katie shouted as she ran towards the car. You were right. What I had on was stereotypical and inappropriate. Jasmine got out of the car and turned towards Katie. And? She questioned. And I offended you and your culture, and I'm sorry, Katie pleaded out. Jasmine crossed her arms. And? She questioned again. And I told Irv that I'm not using his idea for my video anymore because you and the others made me realize how wrong it is, answered Katie. Please forgive me. Jasmine then looked at the others who were behind Katie, nodding their heads up and down. She unfolded her arms and opened them wide for a hug. Fine, said Jasmine. I forgive you. Come here. Katie smiled and jumped into Jasmine's arms. Nico soon joined the hug, then Jacob and Abhishek. I don't mind being seen as the girl next door, Katie announced. Thank you guys for not letting me become a culture vulture, she jokingly said to her friends. Altogether, they laughed as they walked back inside to watch Katie shoot her music video with the original concept. The end. And here I have a glossary. I actually have 2 different glossaries. So this is the glossary with some terms that children might not know, its definitions. And then I have another glossary that is a cultural glossary, and it has terms, design, styles, cultures, everything like that. So I decided to add that to my book because I thought that it was important for children to know what exactly is in my book. And then on the back it says 16-year-old pop sensation Katie Starr was just your average girl next door with hopes and dreams of becoming the biggest pop star in the world. See what happens when she makes a decision to alter her image and become a culture vulture. So that was my book. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed it and learned something new. Bye.